Okay, my lesson is a third grade math lesson on the concept of area. This lesson will take about 1 to 2 weeks. Most of it is going to be self-paced for the students. The learning objectives for this lesson will be that students will be able to find the area of any rectangle when given the side lengths of the rectangle with at least 70% accuracy. And the other objective is that students will be able to find the area of irregular shapes when given all or some of the side lengths with at least 70% accuracy. The students are going to be using a few different online resources to work through the assignments in this lesson. They're going to start by having an assignment in their Google Classroom. And the assignment in their Google Classroom is really just an outline of the learning activities that they will be doing and links to the different websites that they will be using so that there is a very quick access point for them that they know they can go back to and find. So this is the document they will access from their Google Classroom. There actually won't be anything to turn into their Google Classroom for this assignment. This is mostly just a resource, and Google Classroom is a really friendly and easy place for them to go and locate this. So the students will be starting out at Zearn.org, and Zearn follows our adopted math curriculum. So we use it to front load information for our students before we begin a new unit of study. So it's really nice because the students go into Zearn, they work on some lessons that we assign them, and they start learning the basic concepts of the whatever unit we're going to be covering before they come to our whole group lessons, so that they're coming prepared with vocabulary and some basics of the concepts. And it really prepares them better to interact in the whole group lesson, because we do a lot of academic discourse in our lessons, and front loading with Zearn has really helped them be prepared for our lessons and get more out of our lessons. And in Zearn, they're going to be working with tiling. They'll be watching some videos. This is just an example. So what they did in this lesson is they had to tile both of these shapes, and they had the same area, but the shapes look very different. So it's introducing the students to the concept that some shapes have the same area, but they have different side lengths. So the nice thing about Zearn also is that if the students answer something incorrectly, Zearn will give them hints or tips, and then will redirect them or bring them to a video to help clarify the concepts that they are missing. Also, in my teacher account on Zearn, I can get reports. And so when they start their front loading with Zearn, before I go to teach my lesson, I can go and view my reports, and I can see which students have done very well with the concepts and which students are struggling with the concepts already. So it really helps me know what students I need to target in those initial whole group lessons that I'm teaching. And then this will also give them good practice for the simulator that they're going to use, the area building simulator that they're going to use, because Zearn has them tiling and manipulating the area units and tiles, which is what they will be doing in that simulator. So it also is preparing them for that independent work that they will be doing. After they have gone through their Zearn and I have viewed their reports, we will do a whole group lesson. And I will be using a slideshow presentation, and I present it onto my whiteboard so that then we can interact with the shapes that are being projected on the whiteboard. The lesson also lists our objective, and then it gives us questions to kind of drive our discourse in the classroom. So they'll have to turn to a partner and have discourse about, well, what is the length of the shape and how do I know it? And they paraphrase each other and they clarify misconceptions through their discourse. And then we, of course, review all the answers, whole group, after they've had their discourse opportunities. Now, the slides are very plain and black and white, because then what I do in the classroom when I'm teaching this lesson is I use color coding when I'm interacting on the whiteboard with it. So I'll use my whiteboard markers, and I'll show you here in the slides, but normally I would do this with my whiteboard markers so the students can actually see me doing it, and it's not just coming up on the slide. They relate better when they actually see me physically interacting with the shape. So we would highlight the length orange, we would highlight the width green, and then we would label the side lengths. And then as the lesson goes on, we will get, start adding more concepts, more questions to engage in academic discourse until we, talking about how they relate. How do the side lengths relate to the area, and getting them to kind of express that orally and explain their thinking to their partner and then to the class. And then we would come to the part where we would then use the side lengths to build a multiplication sentence. And again, I would do this with my whiteboard markers, using the color coding. I want them to see that, yes, I got that 4 in the multiplication sentence from the length of the rectangle, and I got the 7 from the width, and having those color coding the color coding correspondence really helps them to see that and understand better where they're getting the information to build their multiplication sentence. So that's an example of the what we would be doing in our whole group lesson. After we finish our whole group lesson, then the students will be moving back into some independent work using the Area Builder simulator. And so they would be using tiles to create shapes, and then the simulator shows them how the area is changing as tiles are added, or they could take tiles away. They can also see how when they move the tiles around, the area doesn't change even though the shape changes. So there are a lot of things that they can experiment with in the simulator and to help build their understanding. Now, this is the explore mode of the simulator. The simulator also has a second mode. When they first log in, it'll give them, or they first go to it, there's not a login required for this. They can just go right to it. But when they first open it up, it'll ask them if they want to do the explore mode or the game mode. This is the game mode, where then it gives them a goal. They need to make a shape with the area of 8. So they'll make their shape and then they check it. And then if they're right, it'll take them on to the next one. If they build one and then they check it and it's wrong, then it'll give them an opportunity to try again. After they get it wrong twice, then it will show them the answer. It'll tell them what they built and then what the answer should have been. This will serve as the student's own formative assessment. So when they're working in the game mode, then if they're doing well in the game mode and they're getting all the questions right, then they're going to be ready to move on to their Prodigy account and begin their quest in Prodigy. But if they're struggling with the game mode and they don't seem to be getting it, then they can go back to this resource that was in their Google Classroom. And there are 3 videos for each of the main objectives that we're working on that they can then go to and view the videos and get some redirection and see if they can't help themselves to correct their mistakes that they're making. Once they are successful in the Area Builder, then they'll be moving on to Prodigy. And so Prodigy is a virtual game where they will have an avatar. And it's
Are you playing from home or from school?
A magic quest where they will be going through this quest, and to cast their magic spells for the battles that they'll be doing, they'll have to be answering questions about area. And in my teacher account, I can see how they're doing and it'll give me a percentage, like they're performing with 80% accuracy, or they're performing with 40% accuracy. It'll tell me how they're doing. And it's all shows them these white gloved hands come up and tell them exactly where to go and how to navigate. So it's very easy for students to navigate. And so there will be a battle, and in order to attack their opponent, to be able to cast their spell, it will bring them to a multiplication problem that they're going to have to solve correctly in order to cast their spell. Some of them will be just models represented like this, and then some of them will be more involved word problems. And so once the student has worked through their assignment, or even as they're working through their assignment, In my reports, I can not only see who's using it, who's actually engaged and doing what they're supposed to be doing. I can check their usage and their activity. I can check their comprehension. And I can pick however long we've been working on the assignment, and I can see what their accuracy is. So this student would be performing with 80% accuracy. So they're doing well on the assignment. But if a student is performing with under 70% accuracy, then I can then pull them and do some targeted interventions with them, and then have them go back into Prodigy and work on the assignment, and then see if they're making improvements. If the student finishes the assignment in Prodigy with 80% or 70% accuracy or better, then they'll go on, I'll assign an assessment to them through Prodigy. So I have an assignment in purple and then an assessment that is in blue, that then they will get the assessment, and then I will get a report on their assessment. But if they're not completing the assignment with 70% accuracy, then I won't move them on to the assessment until they've received targeted intervention. And I think that they are going to be successful in their assessment. So those are the main components of my lesson. After a student has gone through all of them and successfully completed the assessment in Prodigy with a 70% or better, then back in their Google Classroom resource, there are going to be some activities related to area called I'm Done Now What. So they have something to do, since most of these activities are independent and they're going to be self-paced. Some students are going to finish before others. So I will keep adding to this as we go. This is a document that I can add to. So anything I add, they'll be able to open up and it'll be there. So there will be art activities and games based on area. That there will be videos that they will click on, and they will get the directions, and all the materials that they will need will either be online or in the classroom, that they then have something that they can do self-directed while the other students are finishing and while I'm still working on pulling intervention groups and trying to bring the other students along. So this for these two concepts, it should be about 1 to 2 weeks for students to finish these with accuracy. And so the materials that the students will need for this will basically just be their Chromebook or a laptop, or even one of our desktop computers in the classroom. As long as they have access to their logins, then they'll have all the materials they need to successfully complete this lesson.